Prize magazine. This is Marco Vermiglio, the Flamekeeper. I come from Rome, Italy, and I founded Flamekeeper in 2018, initially playing all instruments. I created Flamekeeper with the intent of making the most empowering, the most encouraging, and motivational music ever made. And to do so, I draw inspiration from many different genres, including heavy metal, extreme metal, classical music, hard rock, and folk. In 2019, I moved to Stockholm, Sweden, believing it could be the right place for me for pursuing a career in making and producing music. And during the same year, I released the EP We Who Light the Fire on Invictus Productions, where I played all instruments. And I had to wait until 2022 to bring those songs to the stage because of COVID. And since then, I established a live lineup which by now consists of Axel Johansson on drums, Philippe Jesus Miniava on guitar, Davide Benincaso on bass, and me on vocals. A flamekeeper is someone who must keep a fire burning, or more figuratively, is someone who must keep an idea alive. And the flame represents our true self, the most authentic part of our identity, which is the idea at stake here. And it must be followed and protected at all costs, because everything we look for in life, may it be freedom, joy, happiness, strength, courage, mental strength, willpower, is all fed by this initial spark of this flame, which is our true self. And we can't achieve none of those things if we aren't true to ourselves. So, in my case, to be a flame keeper means to honor my nature of being a musician, of being a performer. That's what I want to do. And I have accepted the consequences and the sacrifices that need to be made to make this happen. By the same token, for someone else, being a flame keeper means to open their own business or pursuing a career as a journalist, quitting their daily job to become a writer. So Flamekeeper as a name has as many interpretations as there's people, with the only common denominator being the truth. I wanted this album to have a very specific function, which is to motivate and empower the listener. As a person, I tend to lose confidence in myself and in the world quite often, and every single time I build my motivation back through listening to music. Every single time. So I wanted this album to be something like, in case of emergency, break the glass, listen to Flamekeeper. Because I created Flamekeeper specifically to craft a message that me or everyone else in need could listen to over and over and over and over again to always find that motivation. Also, I listen to a lot of music while I work out. So I wanted this album to be the perfect soundtrack for physical training. And that's why all the arrangements are so bombastic. All the songs are quite short and straight to the point. Most songs are uplifting, up-tempo. Also, this message comes from a very noble place in my heart. So I want this message to be conveyed with incredibly epic and majestic music. Each song is a story that follows an upward trajectory. You start from a place of darkness to end in a place of light. Confusion eventually turns into clarity. The road is lost to be found again. Empowerment and the quest for freedom are central themes to all the songs, and they are explored in different scenarios. Like, for example, New Wild World deals with standing tall and strong even when the world falls into catastrophe, may it be like wars, natural disasters, pandemics. The song Flamekeeper deals with finding out who you really are and honoring your real nature. Raise the Banner is about standing alone in the crowd and believing only your own judgment. Stray Yet Still Free is about getting lost in the wild to then find yourself again by being in touch with nature, with your own most primal and instinctual identity, and so on and so forth. There's two key elements in the cover artwork, and we talked about both of them already. One is the struggle of darkness against light, which is represented by the painted skies in which the sun rays, the light of the day, pierces through the clouds and the darkness. The other element is the torch of flame, which represents our real self. I think anyone is entitled to give their own interpretation. One could be that the cover, this artwork stands for the meaning of life, as I see it, which is to fight and conquer darkness, to bring our true self to the light of the day. And I want to thank Lena Richter for painting the background of the sky and Artem Grigoriev for designing the torch of flame. Invictus Productions is my favorite label. I met Dara, the owner, for the first time in 2017 in Dublin when I was visiting the city for New Year's Eve. At the time, I was playing in my old band Demonomancy, and I was really interested in having the new record released by Invictus Productions, and Dara totally knew this. So we became good acquaintances, and then we became good friends, and he released Poison Atonement by Demonomancy in 2018. And since then, he's also assigned me a lot of work that concerns mixing and mastering, which is a lot of what I do in this studio. So I have worked on many Invictus Productions releases. When I had the first two Flamekeeper songs ready, like the demos of it at least, I sent them to him to check for his own interest, and he said in no time, yes, we're gonna do Flamekeeper together. And that's how it went. Apart from being a musician, I'm also a studio producer, as you can see around me, and I also have a part-time job as audio technician in a big venue here in Stockholm. When I was about 12, my sister brought home a burned CD of Ride the Lightning by Metallica, and by the time the first riff of Fight Fire with Fire started, something changed in me forever. Oh, this is so easy to answer, because the most important external obstacle is time. No doubt about that, because every musician nowadays needs to have a daily job in order to support their passion. And when it comes to me, time constraints have been a huge reason why it took me 4 years to complete this album and work on my craft. How did I overcome it? I don't know if I have totally overcome this, because I had two nervous breakdowns in the making of this album. And during the second one, I understood that I had to develop a greater patience. I know that I want what I do to stand the test of time and to be proud of it in 50 years, in 100 years, in forever. So 1 month, 1 year extra is a totally negligible detail. When it comes to internal obstacles, I will say that the greatest challenge is surely self doubt, because we have this instinct for wanting to fit in. We're afraid of being left alone. So we want to be liked. And this can hurt our art immensely, because the most often we end up comparing what we do with the external world, and it feels somehow always inadequate. So we end up chipping everything that gives personality to what we do. I would say that the best way to overcome this obstacle is by doing precisely the things you're the most afraid of doing. In my case, I come from a black metal, extreme metal background where there is a huge competition on proving who's the most evil. And people knew me as a black metal musician for more than a decade. So this Flamekeeper album is a huge 360 turn for my musical career. And knowing that this album will be released by Victus Productions, an extreme metal label, I started doubting a lot myself in songwriting. And I started being afraid of, like, is this too catchy? Is this too positive? Until eventually I just decided there was no other version of any song that I would have accepted that was different from the way it is right now and what you're hearing right now. Life is really too short to care for what other people think of you, so fuck them. This is how I overcame self doubt. I'd love for Ennio Morricone to write some of his epic melodies for me, but he's passed away, so I don't know if that counts. If it has to be an alive artist, I would say that I would like to duet with Lisa Gerrard from Dead Can Dance. I can't say I'm really in touch with the evolution of metal nowadays, mostly because it feels like it's a competition to who's heavier. It's so focused on performance that metal nowadays feels more like a sport rather than an art. Because everyone is so focused on who's heavier, who can play drums faster, who can sing higher, who can have the most distorted guitar sound, who can have the best sounding record. And I think it's quite short-sighted to make music based on these metrics. What I miss, honestly, is a great song with a great chorus and a great message. Because I think metal can be much more than talking about Satan and gore and horror movies and the occult. So one development that I wish to see in metal is better lyrics, better stories to be told, but especially a much deeper meaning. AI generated art is quite easy to spot. I don't think we're at a level yet where AI art can really take over human art completely yet. Must be Order from Chaos in 2010 in Berlin, and Man of War last year in Switzerland. I'm trying to come up with something that is original to say, but I think I will have to go with Master of Puppets by Metallica. None of the two, but if I have to choose, I will go with 6 a.m. rehearsal. I'm a morning person. Sergei Prokofiev, Dance of the Night. Now the focus is on bringing the songs from the new album to the stage. So that's where we're putting all our efforts for like rehearsals and finding gigs. But I feel it's soon time to go back to songwriting. I want to thank Antichrist magazine for allowing me to have this interview, and everyone who watched this video to the very end. Keep the flame alive.